Sup, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today are the updates around a crazy story that we covered last year. And specifically, I'm talking about the crazy kidnapping and extortion story with British model Chloe Ayling. At the time, it was reported that Ayling traveled to Milan in July of 2017 to take part in a photo shoot. It was reportedly arranged by her agent, and when she arrived on location, she was attacked by two masked men and injected with ketamine, which knocked her out. She was then bound, gagged, put inside of a duffel bag. She was transported to a farmhouse, and there she was handcuffed to the furniture for at least the first night. She said her captors claimed to be part of an organization called the Black Death Group, saying they threatened to sell her on the deep web if her agent failed to pay a ransom of $300,000. The men also reportedly took compromising photos of her while she was unconscious and then posted those to auction her off. But then she said one of her kidnappers confessed to her that they had made a mistake in kidnapping her after seeing pictures of her son on Instagram, saying that with her being a mother of a young child, that went against the group's rules. And on that note, the group reportedly had rules against selling those who were terminally ill, pregnant, young mothers, or have STDs. And after 6 days, one of her abductors, a 30-year-old Polish guy by the name of Lukasz Paweł Herba, released Ayling at the Milan consulate. There, he was arrested, and in his initial statement to police, he said he did so out of sympathy for her role as a mother. But if you remember this story, after it broke, there were questions from critics who claimed that the details didn't add up. Others saying that Ayling's behavior in televised interviews also seemed odd. Details then emerged that Ayling had actually gone shopping for shoes with Herba during the kidnapping, so doubt in her story increased. And in fact, Herba claimed throughout the trial that the kidnapping was all staged. He said he had previously met Ayling, that he had fallen in love with her, saying he wanted to help her overcome the financial difficulties she faced after the birth of her son, saying that together they concocted this plan that would help create publicity, advance her modeling career, also saying that he didn't tell police that Ayling was in on the scheme during his initial statements because he believed she would come forward herself and defend him. However, Ayling has consistently denied having any part in her kidnapping. She did end up acknowledging that her failure to tell investigators initially that she had accompanied Herba to the store damaged her credibility, but she said she had been completely terrified during that trip, telling investigators she never tried to escape even when out in public with him because she believed his threats that he was part of a bigger criminal gang that had eyes on her constantly, adding that even if she managed to escape, she was convinced she would be captured again and potentially face severe consequences. And on that note, Herba eventually testified that he lied about the Black Death Group and said that it was his brother who helped him with the kidnapping. He also admitted to building a website where women were advertised to the highest bidder and describing himself as a killer for hire who had worked for the FBI, CIA, and Mossad. But he also said that he only made these claims up to draw attention to the site to bring greater notoriety to the stunt. But the prosecutor pointed out and argued that a lot of that really didn't add up. The prosecutor pointing out that Herba had bought 2 ski masks to use in the kidnapping, which Ayling said she saw the kidnappers wearing. Also on that note, you had people asking why would you even have those masks, since obviously if she was in on it, she would know who was doing it. Also pointing out that Herba had sent a note to his brother instructing him to scrub the boot of the car to make sure there was no traces of DNA or strands of hair. Also on the other side of things, during closing arguments, Herba's lawyer tried to prove that the kidnapping was a hoax by citing an email. It was from a US film producer who pointed out that Ayling's story closely matched the plot of a movie titled By Any Means, and that it was released about 8 weeks before the 2017 kidnapping. But Ayling's attorney dismissed that argument, saying there have been films made about every crime in the world. And ultimately, Herba's explanation was rejected by judges in Milan, and he was found guilty of kidnapping and extortion. And with that, he was sentenced to 16 years and 9 months in prison. And while this is a massive update to this story, it's not the end of it. Ayling's lawyer has said that he plans on seeking $590,000 in compensation for Ayling, although he has admitted that it's unlikely Herba would be able to pay. Additionally, he has said that Ayling is considering possible civil action in British courts against the media, and specifically the media that accused her of lying about being a victim to become famous. And also as far as the brother who allegedly helped in this crime, Michael Herba. Reportedly, he's in the process of being extradited from the UK and denies any involvement in the kidnapping. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there, but I definitely wanted to include an update to one of the crazier stories we talked about last year. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by movement.com/PhillyD. Movement, if you don't know, is a fantastic place to get gorgeous, badass watches and sunglasses for men and women. For those over the past few weeks and months who have been asking me about my watch, it's a Movement watch. Personally, this one's my favorite just because it's clean, it's minimal. Movement watches also start at just $95, which is fantastic because usually if you go to a department store, you're looking at $400, $500 price tags. Also very awesome, they have free shipping and free returns worldwide, so you can try out one of the watches, try out the sunglasses risk-free. And so if you want to make the smart move like many from the nation already have, go to movement.com/PhillyD and enter in code PhillyD to get $15 off your first order today. And the first bit of awesome today was more E3 awesome. I'm gonna start with my favorite. We got a gorgeous gameplay trailer for The Last of Us Part 2, and I am so excited. The Last of Us is easily in my top 3 games of all time ever. Amazing story, amazing gameplay, completely underrated multiplayer. Yes, please. We also got a trailer for the gorgeous remake of Resident Evil 2. Additionally, we got whatever the hell the trailer for Death Stranding is. I'm kind of excited and confused. We had a gameplay trailer for Marvel's Spider-Man, which looks amazing. Also, Nintendo/Fortnite fanboys rejoice. Fortnite is now available today on the Switch. Additionally, Hollow Knight is available on Switch today. We also got to see a lot about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Reportedly, it will feature every fighter in the series, that in addition to Ridley, and for you hardcores, you'll be able to play with your GameCube controller. We also got a trailer for Season 2 of Luke Cage, and if you want to see the full versions of everything, I just shared the secret link of the day, anything at all. Links as always are in the description down below. Then it's time for one of our oldest, the tried and true segment of Don't Be Stupid, Stupid. And today's contestant is 62-year-old Lee Yamome Cheeks. She's a grandmother that was filmed by a concerned citizen, and we'll set the mood for this video. Cheeks was in Memphis, Tennessee, driving around on a 95-degree day with, and we only learned about this thanks to video recorded by a concerned citizen, her 7 and 8-year-old grandchildren in dog kennels in the back of the car. The very same day this video was taken and caught traction, she was identified and then arrested by Memphis police. Cheeks was interviewed and admitted to riding from Whitehaven to Collierville with the children in the kennel. The report also noting that the temperature reached 95 degrees and there were no vents in the rear of the Ford Explorer. And based off of Google Maps, if that was the only travel, that means the kids would have been in there for more than half an hour. As far as her reason for putting the children in the dog cage, she told police there was no room inside the vehicle earlier in the day, so she told the children to get inside the kennel. Cheeks also later adding that they also drove downtown, but that she did check on the children periodically and then later removed them from the kennel and put them in rear seats of her vehicle. And as you may have figured out by now, those are not good reasons, and so Cheeks was charged with 2 counts of child endangerment. And in addition to the criminal charges, the Tennessee Department of Child Services is also conducting an investigation into this incident. And of course, my response to this is in the name of the segment, don't be stupid, stupid. You have these little lives in your hand, and this situation, while ridiculous, is also still serious. According to the safety organization Kids and Cars, an average of 37 children die every year from being locked in hot cars. And these incidents usually involve when parents forget that the child was in the car, or they believe that the child can be in the car for a short time while they run an errand. The situation with Cheeks' grandchildren is even more concerning to me. This because they were put into an even more unnecessary situation where there was no ventilation and reportedly the children were complaining that it was way too hot. But that's where I'm gonna leave that one. And then of course, let's talk about the summit in Singapore, Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un meeting one another. It's of course been long awaited, canceled, then uncanceled. It feels like we are just miles away from fire and fury and Rocket Man comments. And it finally happened. They met one another, they shook hands. The summit meetings included a one-on-one between Trump, Kim, and interpreters. Afterwards, there were expanded meetings with other ministers. They also had lunch together. And before going into the one-on-one, you could kind of see the general feel of this summit based off of the first comments from Trump and Kim.
I feel really great. We're going to have a great discussion, and I think tremendous success. We'll be tremendously successful.
여기까지 오는 길이 쉬운 길은 아니에요. 우리한테는 우리 발목을 잡는 그 과거가 있고 또 그릇된 국민과 발행들이 우리 때로는 우리 눈과 귀를 가리고 했는데 우리 모든 것을 이겨내고 이 자리까지 왔습니다.
At the conclusion of the summit, after all of the meetings, President Trump and Kim Jong-un signed a joint statement. A joint statement, an agreement that they called historic. The agreement saying that Kim commits to complete denuclearization and Trump commits to security guarantees. Additionally, the document states that there are also 4 other major terms that the 2 leaders plan to achieve, committing to establish new U.S. DPRK relations, that there will be a joint effort to build a lasting and stable peace regime on the Korean Peninsula, the DPRK commits to work toward complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, and that the 2 commit to recovering POW/MIA remains, including the immediate repatriation of those already identified. And the conclusion of the agreement states that Pompeo and other relevant high-level officials of North Korea will meet at the earliest possible date to implement the outcomes of the U.S. DPRK summit. Now, as has been pointed out, the agreement signed by the 2 was very limited in scope, and it mainly covered a commitment to denuclearization and a desire for peace. However, in their private meeting, the 2 apparently agreed to some things that were outside of what was written. And one of the big things Trump announced is that for the time being, the joint U.S.-South Korea war games will be canceled. And as far as why, Trump said this.
We'll be stopping the war games, which will save us a tremendous amount of money, unless and until we see that the future negotiation is not going along like it should. But we'll be saving a tremendous amount of money. Plus, I think it's very provocative.
And following this, many people wondered, well, what is the U.S. getting in return for canceling the war games? And on this note, Trump pointed out that we've had those 3 hostages released, that the North has actually already begun denuclearization by destroying parts of test sites. Additionally, they've also stopped all missile and nuke tests for many months now. But with this announcement from Trump, there was also a ton of confusion. Both U.S. forces based in Korea and their Republic of Korea counterparts have mentioned that they haven't received any official notice about the war games being canceled. But also, it's important to acknowledge that this is a decision that seemingly was just made and things are not done instantly. Additionally, there were also rumors that U.S. troops could be leaving Korea. On that note, Donald Trump made it clear during the press conference that he has no plans removing troops from Korea as of right now. We also had Donald Trump consistently being asked about human rights violations. Here, Donald Trump tried to reassure people that it was the second most talked about thing outside of denuclearization. You had Trump being asked how could he work with the regime that killed Otto Warmbier. To that, Donald Trump credited Warmbier as the catalyst that let this all be possible and that his death wasn't in vain. Trump was also asked if he felt he was betraying the 100,000 people kept in North Korean gulags by by legitimizing North Korea. To that he said this.
No, I think I've helped them because I think things will change. I think I've helped them. There's nothing I can say. All I can do is do what I can do.
There has also been criticism of Trump of how much he has been praising Kim Jong-un because he has acknowledged the body count, the gulags, the human rights issues. He ends up having back and forths like this one.
He's a rough guy. He has to be a rough guy, or he has been a rough person. But we got along very well. He's smart. Loves his people. He loves his country. He wants a lot of good things, and that's why he's doing this.
But he's starved them. He's been brutal to them. He still loves his people.
Look, he's doing what he's seen done. I mean, if you look at it, but I really have to go by today and by yesterday and by a couple of weeks ago, because that's really when this whole thing started.
What do you want to say directly to the citizens of North Korea?
Well, I think you have somebody that has a great feeling for them. He wants to do right by them, and we got along really well. We had a great chemistry. You understand how I feel about chemistry.
And with things like that coming from Donald Trump, we're kind of getting two responses. You have one side saying this is all part of Donald Trump negotiating. He's praising, it is all about respect, it's all about Kim Jong-un feeling good. And that's how we get the situation with North Korea in a much better place. But on the other side, you have people saying that this is horrifying, that it is legitimizing Kim Jong-un, a violent dictator who starves and tortures his people. Based off of eyewitness accounts from people that were able to escape North Korea, it sounds like it is mainly a country of prisoners. Also looking internationally, the reactions worldwide was interesting. Most were positive, this including South Korea, Japan, and China. You had Russia warning that the devil is in the detail of the agreement. You had Iran having a negative reaction, warning North Korea to not trust Donald Trump, since Donald Trump, of course, just pulled out of the Iran deal. Now, as far as what happens next, Donald Trump has said Bolton and Pompeo will get together to figure out how to move forward. Also, something that Donald Trump has hit on several times now is that this will take time. That obviously the goal is to do this as fast as possible, but that there is a long road ahead. But with all of that said, I do want to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts around this situation? Do you think this is fantastic, this is a massive win, or no, you think it's going to fail? The United States is already giving up something in return for nothing. You also had others arguing that he really didn't give up anything, since the cancellation is contingent on the conversation continuing. Any and all opinions, I'd love to see them in the comments down below. Personally, I am very hopeful, but also extremely, extremely skeptical. I mean, it's North Korea that we're talking about, and we can have all the speeches in the world saying, you know, we start the new history today, but you still have to look at history and go like, okay, it gives you cause for concern and gives you extreme doubt. And even President Trump seems to be kind of prepared for this to fail, as a way he explained in a very Donald Trump way.
Honestly, I think he's going to do these things. I may be wrong. I mean, I may stand before you in 6 months and say, hey, I was wrong. I don't know that I'll ever admit that, but I'll find some kind of an excuse.
And that's where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, hit that like button. If you hated this video, still hit that like button. I'll know it was sarcastic and it'll hurt my feelings more. Also, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss these daily videos, and also ring that bell. That way you get notifications when they work. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, especially if you've not heard of Article 13, click or tap right there. Or maybe you need something lighter, you can watch the newest behind the scenes vlog by clicking or tapping right there. But that said, of course, as always, my name is Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.